Hello and welcome. So, today I'm gonna explain the male loneliness epidemic, okay? What actually is behind it, the actual reasons for it, okay? I mean, we always hear, oh, the male loneliness epidemic is because of technology, or some people say because of pornography, or because of OnlyFans, or because of video games, all this nonsense, these bullshit talking points. I'm gonna actually analyze what is actually behind the male loneliness epidemic, okay? And yeah, as you know, on my channel, we're gonna analyze this in detail, and I'm gonna show you the actual facts on the matter, okay? So first of all, let's talk about capitalism. So capitalism is actually negatively associated with fertility rates, okay? Which is kind of ironic, like all these tradcons who say, look, the fertility rates are going down and down, right? Meanwhile, they support capitalism. Okay, so here's the study, Capitalism Crowding Out Fertility. Based on a 180 country strong worldwide data set and cross-sectional correlation studies, this paper outlines that hallmark pillars of capitalism are all negatively associated with fertility rates. The 2017 Economic Freedom Index, comprising of input variables such as property right protections, judicial effectiveness, government integrity, fiscal health, freedom of business, labor, monetary policy, trade, investment, finance, taxation, GDP, freedoms, as well as FDI inflows, is significantly negatively correlated with fertility rates around the globe. Okay, so this is just very clear. The more capitalism, the lower the fertility. Okay, the more free market, the lower the fertility rates. Okay, now why is that? Well, women are driven by status and wealth rather than wanting babies. So women are foregoing their mating, right, or wanting to have children in order to gain more status and wealth, right, as this study shows that is referenced by Oxford. A woman will delay and reduce her fertility if it brings her opportunities for higher status. The findings are based on interviews with 9,000 women in Mongolia, a country that underwent a sudden transition from a Soviet-style state to mass privatization. While the older cohort who lived under a communist-style regime were likely to have bigger families if they were wealthier, the younger women experiencing a more capitalist system were more likely to seek their own fortune and mate with social standing before starting a family, says the paper. Mate with social standing means higher status men, right? In the research published in the latest issue of the journal Proceeding of the Royal Society B, the authors describe this as a demographic economic paradox. They say an unequal and skill-based society enables women to rise up the social ladder and make money through education. As the free market takes hold, women who have children later in life to pursue education get wealthier. Okay? So they forego their reproduction in order to have a higher status man. Okay? So they're seeking university education and careers in capitalist systems, right? Into a situation in which they find a higher status man, right? That has more earning potentials, right? So this is what happens under capitalism. And again, we see being more educated and earning more increases romantic interests. Data from 1.8 million online data from 24 nations, right? So this is just massive evidence for female hypergamy, okay? The results suggest a robust effect of resource acquisition ability on real-life mate choice that transcends international boundaries and is reliably stronger for men than women. Okay, so men with higher resource acquisition ability are going to be selected by women. And since in capitalism there's more economic inequality, that means women are more likely to choose men of higher status as opposed to men of lower status. Okay, this is just very clear. Now, this is one example of how under capitalism female hypergamy is basically amplified, or the effects of it basically, right? So this leads to a large percentage of men who get deselected, right? And they get lonely. We can also see it here. Increasing pressure on US men for income in order to find a spouse. We find that for men, the importance of income in predicting ever being married increased steadily over time. Income predicted only 2.5% of the variance in ever marrying for those born in 1890 to 1910, but about 20% for the 1973 cohort. So the female hypergamous instinct basically increased over time, or the effects of it, right? And the paper also says here, our data suggests that as women's education and income increase, so do their demands for education and income in a potential spouse, a trend that leads to greater pressure on men to earn higher incomes, right? So as societies get wealthier and women gain more education and get wealthier, they expect also the man to get even wealthier than they are, right? And this leads to, this basically leads to impossible standards for men, right? Increasingly, and this is not going to get better as there's a feminization of wealth, basically a wealth transfer, okay, from boomer men who are going to die off, and the women inherit their wealth, basically, right? Feminization of wealth is coming as boomer wealth transfer boosts women economic power. As boomers age, their money is going to be inherited by women who are more educated and financially independent. After some period of time, 10, 20 years, women will own the majority of wealth in this country. And we also see, even right now, single women are more likely to own homes than single men. Okay, so also has something to do with longer life expectancy. But yeah, as you can see, this tendency of female enrichment will grow bigger, okay? And as it grows bigger, it will be more complicated and more hard for men because they will not be able to meet the standards of increasingly financially independent women, right, who get richer and richer. Now, a South Korean politician actually pointed this out. South Korean politician blames women for rising male suicide. Okay, he said that women's increased participation in the labor force over years had made it harder for men to get jobs and find women who wanted to marry them. Okay, so is this actually unfounded? Is this just some bullshit, or is there actually some truth to it? So men are more discriminated in hiring than women. Increasingly, this is what a meta-analysis shows. Okay. And there's more evidence, actually, because you have to understand that women's in-group bias is 4.5 times higher than those of men, right? Women like women more, okay? And this actually locks men out of the labor market. If they're increasingly participating in the labor market, they're going to be hiring more and more women, And as women get more and more hired, this is a self-reinforcing cycle, basically. In gender group bias in hiring real-world evidence, okay, our results suggest that women, female recruiters, or firms with a high share of female employees favor women in the recruitment process. In contrast, we do not find much evidence that men favor men. Okay. Here's more evidence. Is there a rating bias of job candidates based on gender and parenthood, a laboratory experiment on hiring for an accounting job? The results show a statistically significant gender bias in job applicant ratings in favor of female applicants. Thus, female job applicants are more often than male applicants rated as the top candidates, regardless of their parental status. We also find no motherhood penalty in the applicant ratings. Moreover, there's a statistically significant pro-female bias in applicant ratings made by female evaluators individually and by all female evaluation groups, right? So, as we can see, more female labor participation rates is locking men out of the labor market, just as this South Korean politician said. So it's not unfounded, actually, right? And this is going to increase male unemployment. What kind of effects does this have? Worse health outcomes, okay? Research indicates that men are more likely to suffer adverse health consequences as a result of being unemployed than women. Unemployed men have a rate of depression twice that of unemployed women, and unemployment may double or even triple the risk of male suicide. Unemployed men experience a 20% excess risk of death compared to the rest of the population. The number of healthy life years, a composite measure of the remaining years that a person can expect to live without disability, has a negative association with long-term unemployment, but this association is only found in men. Okay? So as female participation rates in the labor market increase, male unemployment also increases, which is bad for men's health. Okay, but it's also bad for male friendships and male social connections. Men experiencing unemployment significantly reduces the frequency of meeting and helping friends and family under most circumstances. This is in accordance with results indicating that unemployed men suffer more from low self-esteem and depression than women do. Okay? So here's the situation. So under capitalism, there's going to be more and more job opportunities and education opportunities for women. Okay? This leads to a situation in which women are only going to choose the higher status men. Okay? So there's going to be a large portion of men going to be deselected. But also, women entering the labor force is increasing male unemployment, okay, because increasing female labor force means more women hiring other women, which locks men out of the labor market. And then, of course, there's also already men who are already hired, who are already working. They also get pushed out by women through false accusations and things like that. Okay. Now, also, you have to look at education. So boys get downmarked by female teachers for the same ability, even for the same ability, right? The data is just clear on that, and I actually did a 1-hour video on that, showing the discrimination in the education system that men and boys have to suffer, which is why they're getting pushed out of the education system. Okay. This is further reinforced by feminists. Boys left to fail at school because attempts to help them earn wrath of feminists. Okay. But also there's this aspect of fatherlessness, making the situation worse. Okay. Teachers' experiences of the impact of fatherlessness on male pupils. Okay, this is a very interesting report, and it points out that fathers have a significant role in stabilizing and basically making sure that that boys get the right education, right, and stable education. But there's a negative effect if the father is out of the home. So, and it even has a gender specific effect. So some studies have found support for these effects within specific gender dyads, as well as showing that sons have lower academic achievement when fathers are absent than daughters. Okay. So what is the reason why fathers are absent, right? Why there's a fatherlessness epidemic? One of the major reason is divorce. Okay. Now women are initiating the vast majority of divorce. Okay. And some people blame like deadbeat dads or something, but you can read in this article the myth of deadbeat dads, that this is just total bullshit. Overwhelmingly, it is mothers, not fathers, who are walking away from marriages. Okay, and this has something to do with child support and alimony, because this incentivizes divorce, actually, for the women if they're getting a cash out, basically. Okay, so I highly recommend reading this. Then there's also the feminist aspect. Okay, separates the father from the kids. Okay, and creates single motherhood. Then there's also the court bias. Okay, studies show judicial bias against dads. Again, there's like a lot of studies that divorce courts, family courts are biased against fathers. Okay, this is just undeniable. Yeah, so here we have this situation where men's status is decreasing because they're getting pushed out of the education system. Okay, through teacher bias, through discrimination in the education system, through fatherlessness, right, which has a negative effect on boys. Okay, but also they're getting locked out of the labor market. Okay, and being locked out of the labor market makes them low status, and they're not getting selected by women. Okay, and more economic freedom, which creates higher economic inequality, makes it so that women are only going to choose the higher status men, right? So they're going to get education, they're going to get careers, right? And they're only going to go for the higher status men, right? So that's what's going on here, basically, right? This is what is creating the male loneliness epidemic, ultimately. Okay, it is not video games or pornography or something. Okay, this is just bullshit. No, it is basically three things. It is feminism, which drives out the father from the home, right? And also like child support and and divorce courts, right? Which drives the fathers out of the home, okay? Which pushes them out of the home. Female hypergamy, and capitalism. Those three things are causing the male loneliness epidemic, basically. Okay, this is basically what it boils down to. Okay, it is not any excuse that these tradcons want to make, like, oh, it's caused because of OnlyFans or technology, right? No, it's because, like I said, it's feminism, female hypergamy, fatherlessness, which is caused by both feminism and female hypergamy, and capitalism.